There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
All right, you guys ready to start talking about man and worst makeup job ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. As I say that, we started this episode because I start whenever I feel like, I guess. I don't have any editing skills anymore. I'm just like, hey, this is a good point to start. We'll probably be the episode will start in the middle of us talking about Megan Fox and Expendables 4, but
I'm all edited out. I get it.
No, I don't know if people enjoy, like I said, I don't know if people enjoy the new version of the podcast, but I feel like being stringent is not the best way to go, but I don't know. I'm weird like that. But hey, we're the Fifth Dimension and Twilight Zone podcast, a podcast that talks about Rod Serling's favorite TV show of all time, because he didn't create it, but he loved it or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, we're back to talk another season 4 episode of the Fifth Dimension or the Twilight Zone. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm drunk. No, not really. I have a cat laying on my hand that it has the mouse, so it's kind of hard to navigate between tabs. Come on, Jacob, help me out here.
Tabs.
Usually have Triv to keep me on track. Yeah,
tabby cats chase mice.
Right.
Your cat is not a tabby cat, but it's chasing your mouse.
No, you should be an orange cat where you just like mentally challenged cat.
Garfield?
No, there's videos on YouTube of orange cats are apparently like the blondes of the the blondes of the
you can't
cat
get me
world.
like you can get Triv with that shit, dude.
Anyways.
Like, God. It's so
I blame you,
stupid.
Alex, for bringing that up to now Jacob has another thing that
I know. It was my fault on that one. I took accountability for the fact that this meme being brought up was my fault. You know,
hey,
his shenanigans aren't on me though. He has his own autonomy.
And like this guy, but
yeah. Anyways, so we're back once again to talk season 4, episode 14 of the Twilight Zone. Of late, I think of Cliffordville, directed by Lowell Rich, written by Rod Serling, stars Albert Salmi, Julie Newmar, John Anderson, and Wright King. Got that out of the way because sometimes I forget about it. But as you can see, we're missing a co-host. Of course, Triv is not here because she has to have more progression on becoming a piece of corn or an ear of corn. I don't know. She had
getting her bottom surgery.
Exactly. No, she was very busy with work, so she'll be back hopefully next week. But we have our what's that?
At the movie theater.
Yeah,
obviously.
at the movie theater. Yeah, exactly.
But
we have, as always, our fourth chair, our fourth seat, who comes on when she's available, but she of course is back for her probably 12th episode at this point. That of course is Alex. Welcome back, Alex. Thank you for coming on to keep Jacob in line, because I know I can't.
I tried to, but I can't. But I'm just Triv's understudy today, so I'm just here.
Yeah, you
girls
come on
too.
Right. Yeah, you gotta have that balance. It's very weird when it's just me and Jacob. We're just like boobs.
yeah, boobs and video games.
We're like the monkeys in 2001 trying to figure out how to create shit.
Boobs.
But
My God.
Yeah, it's gonna be an episode, people. Anyways,
it is an episode.
I just want to say that I thought Julie Newmar in this episode was perfect.
I mean, she's not a bad looking woman. She's only like 30 something. I don't think she's born in 33, I think.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, so she was only like 30 years old.
What that reference was, everybody. Those of you that didn't watch the 1965 Batman TV show.
I just thought you were saying a dumb pun. But
that was her pun. She always said everything was perfect.
Yeah, but like anytime there's a cat pun, it's like, wow, it'd be.
Hey, this is Julie Newmar's Catwoman. She was the OG cat pun.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I'm too young to
Oh,
understand.
are you saying I'm too old?
Yes.
I didn't say that. I'm talking about me.
By proxy, you said that I
I'm
am.
talking about little old me. I'm not talking about anybody else.
I mean, she was the one that was brought in to have that kind of sex symbol mannerisms. I guess you could say she was very her role here and her
Devilish.
role in the Batman series are very similar in like tone and cadence. I guess you could say. I think as Alex you alluded to, she is probably the best part about this episode. Maybe the only good part about this episode, which really helps it from being from the bottom of the of the barrel when it comes to the Twilight Zone. I'm sorry, Jacob. It's just not a very good episode. I know you're gonna say, "Oh, well, it's the fourth season. It's much better than the third season," but it's like
I don't know what I'm gonna say.
it's like the 11th through 20th season of The
Don't
Simpsons.
assume what I'm going to say.
I know what you're gonna say. I know how you are. I know how you are, Jacob.
Baby Bungle.
You can say this is the greatest episode ever, better than
No, you didn't.
No, I have no idea what you're gonna say, but I mean, me personally, I think this is nowhere near as good as the new exhibit, nowhere near as bad as I Dream of Jeannie, but
So at least
I
we have
think
that.
yeah, exactly. But as far as performances, Albert Selmy, who is the main star of Feathersmith of this episode, almost completely ruins this entire episode. Actually, I technically think he does ruin this episode with his 70-year-old what the hell is he doing character arc. I don't know what's happening with his character. I don't know why he's talking the way he is. He doesn't act like a 70-year-old. He acts like somebody who came from the streets and didn't know what he was doing and had a director that didn't know what he was doing and were on drunk and on some kind of cocaine. I don't know. But that's my official opinion of this episode. So I will leave it to Alex. You have thoughts as well. What are those thoughts on this episode?
I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We got a long conversation to lead up to
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was an episode.
Yes, it
was an
was.
episode in the middle of season 4, and here we are. Great way to start.
All right, right. I like that thinking. It was an episode. It did things and took places and went
They filmed
somewhere and
things.
they filmed
Had a
things.
story that was written.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Had 24 frames a second. I mean, it definitely qualifies as something of a entertainment sort. But no, I mean, like, is this episode something that you guys knew a lot about at all going into it? I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with this because I'm just so flummoxed by what Albert Selmy, who was in 2 other episodes of the Twilight Zone, is doing. That it took like 30 minutes for this episode to even have some kind of competency. I don't know if that's the right
Competency?
word. Yeah, of like some kind of structure that seems to be so weirdly out of place for most of this episode till he gets to Julie Newmar's character. I don't know. You guys help me out here. I don't know what to think about. Like, I really don't want to hate on this episode, but it's just like, what the fuck is Albert? I'm so flummoxed by what Albert Selmy is doing that it just. I mean, he's the anchor for this episode, and I feel like Julie Newmar, who's only in it for like 3 or like maybe 10 minutes at the most, is like should have been her through the entire episode, not him. I don't know. Help me out, guys. Tell me what to do. I can't think.
I can see where you're going with
Yeah.
with it, I guess. I mean, it's hard to think of an episode that goes in this direction without thinking of kind of prior episodes where there's been that kind of interaction between Julie Newmar's character and like the lead protagonist. I don't know I forgot I say his last name. I keep thinking of Salami, but I'm like, that's not how to
It's
say
it's
it.
it's
Salmi?
Salmi. Yeah, Salmi.
Salmi. Yeah,
I
between
might
Sally
I
and
mean
Newmar, it's like, we've seen kind of that banter before in other
yeah.
episodes. I mean, also, this isn't the first time in season 4 too, where you have, hit this like really standout, like over the top almost performance by Burgess Meredith in The Printer's Devil. And then you get to this within the same season. I mean, it's hard not to compare. I don't want to get ahead of like how Julie Newmar's role kind of plays in this episode. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely forgot what this episode was about. And then as I was watching it, I felt like I was trying to recall it a little bit better. I think part of it was just how it was divided up between the two acts.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like maybe if they accelerated what was being delivered as far as like exposition and like him going into Cliffordsville could have been like a little shorter. And
Yeah.
there could have been a little more brevity as far as like maybe getting into Cliffordsville, and then maybe we spent a little more time there, or maybe there was just a little more kind of banter with Julie Newmar kind of throughout. But I don't really
'Cause
know how this episode could be like, I don't know, like remedied. Like I just don't. It's hard to think of like
I
how to make it better.
I think the problem is not the episode in general, because I think the idea of this asshole, because this is probably one of the biggest a-holes in the Twilight Zone when it comes to characters.
Oh
I just
yeah.
think if you have a Almer Selmy doing a much different performance when it comes to the tone of how he's speaking and how he looks and feels, and get rid of the makeup job. I like that. Oh God, that makeup, the ball cap, like it's just so bad on all of them. I think if you use maybe a different actor or something like that, and you have it a little less goofy, I think you can have something really confident and yeah, competent. But when he talks, it's just like you're ruining the plot and premise of the story. And then when it gets into the like, everything's fine, but it's just like his performance just brings the whole episode down. It's so weird. I mean, it's yeah. I don't know, Jacob.
I mean, I didn't hate this episode.
I
I did.
know. I'm not.
In all honesty, I didn't. I mean, I don't know, man. I found myself enjoying parts of it. You said you hated his performance as the 70-year-old man. I
Yeah,
actually didn't hate it.
like
I
the
found it.
well, no, I mean,
It
let
was
me
over
ask
the
you this:
top.
Did you?
What?
But the way, like the way he speaks is so unnatural. It doesn't feel like a old man speaking. It feels like a young person trying to do old man
That's why I
in like a
liked it.
campy tone.
It was very over the top and very like and and I quite honestly think if he was doing like a more realistic interpretation of a 70-year-old man, it would have been boring. I mean, so it was over the top, and it was kind of like, okay, this guy's odd. It drew attention to his character. I don't know if it's necessarily good attention, but I don't know. He came across as really pompous and just kind of like theatrical and over the top. I didn't say it was realistic, but I mean, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when he was being the 80-year-old man. He's clearly not. He's clearly in makeup. And yeah, the makeup isn't great. I mean, it's 1963. I'm able to look past that stuff. It's kind of like Dawn of the Dead from the 70s when they shoot somebody and like clearly like red paint flies out of their head. It's you just kind of look past things like that because of the era. So I can look past the makeup, but since I clearly know that this guy's not 70 years older, older guy, and he's doing this over the top thing and all that, I thought it was funny. I like the thing with the secretaries where they're like saying everything he's going to do, and then it like smash cuts over to him, and he's like, "Have a cigar," and all that. I found
I
that,
thought that was funny too.
yeah, I found that stuff entertaining. His little back and forth with his business rival. Was it good TV? I mean, it was okay.
I think
that
it's
this was a 24-minute episode. If there ever has been one this season, this was one that did not need to be an hour long or 50 minutes. This could have absolutely been done. We say that a lot, or we have that comparison. We don't always say it, but we say, could it have been? This one absolutely could have been a 24-minute episode, and you wouldn't have lost a thing. You probably honestly would have gained something. You would have gained a tighter narrative. And I think that the padding that they did here isn't awful. Like, I was never checking my watch, just like, Jesus, when is this going to end? But I wasn't really like enthralled. I was just kind of like, okay, this is happening. And, it was clearly padding. It was fine. I mean, there's not a top 10, nowhere near that. It's not a bottom either. I feel like in the end, this is going to end up somewhere in the middle to high middle, high being low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think I hated his character as much as you guys did, or at least you did, Nick. But I'm not on the flip side of that. I'm not saying I thought he was like the most endearing, just awesome, entertaining character ever. He was just what he was. He's clearly overacting. But on the flip side of that, like I said, I do think that if he wasn't overacting, it would have been just boring. One place I will absolutely agree with you guys, and I think we all said this before recording, Julie Newmar was the best part of the episode.
Yeah.
I think that when she showed up, not because she's, just a very attractive woman, but like just her whole case, like everything, she was on it. She was the best.
She brings
part.
like a lighter touch to kind of a darker story because I
We all
mean, if
know
you
who
think
she
about
is.
it, yeah, because if you think about it, the story basically is the past that you remember, the past that you think you remember is not the thing you actually remember. Like, whether it be the banker's girl.
I think they could have done better with that. And I understand by the end that was kind of like the big thing was, how you remember things is not, and they actually have to verbally say that to actually for the point to be for me at least to actually go, oh yeah, okay, I guess that's what they were trying to say. I wasn't thinking that when he was doing it or when the episode was happening. I was just kind of along for the ride. I don't feel like it really hammered home enough the fact that his memory of things is not necessarily how things were going. I think they should have hammered that home a little bit better so that they didn't audibly need someone to say it to the screen so you like know what everything was just about.
What could be audibly said to our screen is the opening narration.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get there. Trust me.
I did like the part
I try
with
to
the
wait like
daughter,
40
too.
minutes into the episode before we get to that point.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No,
I like the part with the daughter too, how she was singing and his expression.
like, do you have another daughter?
That was pretty great. He was just like,
we're not even in Cliffordville yet, guys.
Yeah,
get to it.
Yeah, that
see, this is why we need you on every episode.
Well, that is because I mean, yeah, I'm jumping to that because while I didn't hate the first half of the episode, it's essentially him in his office talking to his business partner and then talking to the janitor. Then he has a little talk with Julie Newmar and then he's there. So like it is a long time that he's in there. Just all that was fluff. That was all just padding. I don't feel like
that was something of Act 1.
Yeah,
sure.
I guess you could say that was character building. And once again, I wasn't like, oh my God, this sucks, move on. But I was just kind of like, this isn't really adding anything. Sometimes I can be like, well, I feel like, the character development they did with that extra time made something else hit harder. I don't think all this character development in the beginning, if that's what we want to call it, really made anything in the end hit any harder. I mean, he's a douche. We know that out the gate. It is a classic story of a douchebag getting his comeuppance. We didn't need any more character development for that to hit harder. We were just wondering, how's it going to happen?
Right. Well, with that said, Jacob, with your giant tray of alcohol and glasses, you should do the opening narration.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's see here.
That was a giant, by the way, that was a giant ass tray of glasses and alcohol. I'm like, where did he get this at? How much? Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I'm absolutely prepared for this. Totally prepared for the opening narration that I already have opened up right over here.
You're giving Nick so much to edit out right now.
Oh, trust me. Every
Witness a murder. The killer is Mr. William Feathersmith, a robber baron whose body composition is made up of a refrigerator plant covered by thick skin. In a moment, Mr. Feathersmith will proceed on his daily course of conquest and calumny. In a moment, Mr. Feathersmith will proceed on his daily course of conquest and calumny, and yet another business dealing. But this one will be one of those bizarre transactions that take place in an odd marketplace known as the Twilight Zone.
Good stuff. Can we talk about Rod Serling's wordplay in this when Julie Newmar basically berates him? Like going old school, like what she says so many different things. I'm like, this is the greatest wordplay ever.
Oh, with her, yeah. But I like in the opening narration how he said his Mr. Feathersmith's body composition is made up of a refrigeration plant covered by thick skin. It's like he's like, that's creative.
Daily course of conquest and calumny.
Yeah.
It's just like, but Julie Newmar basically insults him with everything, but you're a douchebag, man, and it's good stuff. It's just like I do love how Rod Serling can take words and ideas and do nice spins on them and stuff like that. Which once again, we're dealing with like I don't know, Mr. Ed back in the day when it's a talking horse. It definitely doesn't talk like this.
Back to what we were talking about, like what's wrong with the episode or whatever. I truly believe with the video footage or the film footage they have in this episode, an editor could edit this down to 24 minutes. I mean, we say that about a lot of episodes. And then we're like, how would it be if they did that? Would they need to film it? I don't think they'd have to film anything. I think you could literally make cuts and this would still make just as much sense. And you could get it down to 24 minutes. I mean, there's stuff, whole scenes, whole parts of this episode that are just not needed. I didn't hate them. I didn't hate them, but they're not needed. It's just kind of like this is here because there's a 50-minute mandate.
Well, I don't know how you feel, Alex, but I actually, for once, I actually disagree. I think you could probably cut down maybe the beginning a little bit, but I think the stuff in Cliffordville is actually interesting on the simple fact that like, you as an individual goes back in time like this. We all want to do that, to go back and put stock in like Apple or play the Powerball or some nonsense. And this guy is given the opportunity by Miss Devlin, who we meet, who's played by Julie Newmar, who he even says, once again, I'm sorry, Jacob, I do have to do the Simpsons reference
Treehouse
here.
of Horror.
Yes. Basically, he asked for a turkey's hand. He's like, he has the monkey's paw, and he knows the monkey's paw has been causing a lot of issues. But it's the same thing that Julie Newmar does here, where he's like, I want a turkey sandwich, but I want no zombie turkeys. I want no this. I want no that. And Feathersmith is the same thing, where he's like, I know what you're doing. I'm not selling my soul. I'm not doing this. I want my memory intact. I want this. I want it to be this specific day. So on and so forth. But she has an underlying, she's like one step ahead of him. And I think that really shows as he plays through which we'll get into in a second. I just wanted to bring that up. When he gets into 1910 Cliffordville and he has all these ideas and it doesn't work for him, it's that idea of like, when Homer Simpson eats the turkey sandwich, it's dry because it has no mayo. It has nothing of that nature. And it's the same thing here. It's a great payoff for, a setup that is kind of weak when it comes to what it's trying to do. But like I said, I some reason, and I don't know if you agree, Alex, or like, does everybody live in Cliffordville in this episode? Like Dietrich lives in Cliffordville. Like it's so weird. They've known each other. I don't know. Like Hector lived in Cliffordville. It's just such a weird kind of way to.
I think I do disagree with that, because I think that while I think that the stuff in Cliffordville was fun and interesting too, I do think that you could have cut the stuff out with the daughter. You could have cut that whole thing. It was funny, and
but that's the nostalgia part. That's the whole point of like this, like everything that he remembers.
But you could have cut that out still, and you could have cut out pretty much most of you. You could have had him meet the guy on the street. You didn't even need that really. You just have him go talk to the guy. When he gets to Cliffordville, he goes talk to the guy. Hey, I want to buy this oil or this land. Then have him meet up. A fade. They meet up at the wherever, like a country club or something, or restaurant, and make the deal. And then he does his whole thing. That scene can go down pretty much how it did. And he's like, ha ha ha, you're some fools. And they're like, yeah, we saw the oil too, blah blah blah. And then he's like, dun dun dun, and then just showing kind of like running around the street, like freaking out, and just have like similar voiceover he had. You could cut out the stuff where he goes and he tries to get the people to build the stuff. I see what they were doing there, but don't need
but that's the whole point. But that's the whole point of like what Julie Newmar and his story when he tells it is he's a guy that he thinks he's like 3 steps ahead of Julie Newmar's devil character. And he talks about how, okay, I'm going to give you, Julie Newmar's like, oh, okay, I'll give you whatever you want. It's going to cost you your entire wealth, but $1,400 or whatever it is. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go back and tell him about the starter or whatever for the car. And, I'm going to, buy this land because there's oil on it. And you have to have that payoff, because if you have all that set up and you don't have these individual segments of the story, it doesn't play very well for the character's arc when he ends up, getting to the end of the point that he does, because, if you don't have the nostalgia when he talks about the daughter, you would have to get rid of the whole entire banker's daughter thing with Julie Newmar, because if you bring that story up and you don't pay it off, we talked about this before, where you get into the idea of like, they brought this idea, but they didn't do anything with it, but at least they tried to do that here. It was just ironic that the daughter just is way different than what he had remembered.
Cut that extra line out. I mean, the line of him saying, "Oh, and there was his daughter," or somebody, he's just like rattling things off from when he was younger. That stuff is fine. But when she brings the daughter back up and says, "Oh, I'll sweeten the pot," just cut it off. Just cut that line out. Cut that one single line out.
Well, that's my point.
You can cut that whole scene out, because what you get with the whole oil thing, you get all of that. You get he thinks he's one step ahead, and you find out, oh, no, you didn't think that happened in, whatever year. There's like a long time until they're able to dig that. You find out how he screwed himself, and then have him start freaking out, running down the street, same scene. And then you find out, oh, even more so, your insides are 70 years old. Oh, shit. Go sell your thing. I'll sell it to you. And then he ends up back as the janitor now, I guess. And I absolutely, I get what you're saying. If they mention something, they need to come back to it. And I think that to a degree. I think if they fixate on something they do, him just rattling off that stuff that, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, that could just be somebody reminiscing, thinking about all the things they could do. But I would just take out the part where she fixates on it and says, or focuses on it rather, and says, "Oh yeah, that daughter." If he just mentioned it that one time, that's fine. That's just somebody rattling things off. But just cut that line out where she said that, and then you can take that whole scene out, and you lose nothing. Like, you still get the whole, he gets his comeuppance. We find out that he was not ahead of her like he thought, and he thought he was winning, and everything is the same, in my opinion. Well, I mean, this isn't an editing podcast. I think I would like to take a crack at one of these episodes one time to see if can we actually edit it down and make it coherent. I think we could.
Rod Serling might come and kill you.
He might
make it twice.
He might say thank you for making my episode better.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Alex? Like, I
Mm,
mean, well, the for instance, like, here's a guy that's he's an asshole. He's a guy that like undermines the Dietrich's character by buying
mhm,
underneath him by the note. And all of
mhm.
a sudden, like halfway through that segment, Feathersmith is like reminiscing with Hector about the sadness of like wanting to go back to his childhood and stuff like that, or whatever he wanted to do. And
So did Hector used to be Feathersmith? Like, was
no,
Hector not
no,
Feathersmith,
Hector,
but was he in that position last time? And
no,
then
no,
he went
that's
back?
why I mean, it's possible that could be like a prequel thing, but
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
when he comes back, now it's this other guy. So like each time somebody gets up in there and they become an asshole and they get
Mhm.
humbled and come back as a janitor and then they're a good person or something like that.
Be the family. It
Mm.
could be Family Man all over again.
It's like a vicious cycle kind of thing. There's always somebody who's living that asshole life and they got to go back and then come back and live a humbled life kind of situation. I don't know. That's the expanded cut. That's the Snyder cut.
I didn't see it necessarily as kind of like what Shadowplay did.
Mhm.
As far as it being in a loop, I think part of it was that it's like your actions have consequences,
Mm-hmm.
or like your
Yeah.
actions have like ramifications to them. So even in hindsight, he didn't necessarily think too like intricately about some of the more finer details when it came to like traveling back. Because in his head, he's kind of like, oh, like if I were to go back, I'd do all these things differently. But then, because of those certain clauses within kind of the contract he signs with Miss Devlin for her travel agency, he ends up getting kind of the short end of the stick, so to say, in that deal with the devil, which is something that like has definitely been played upon before. And I do think it's interesting too how in this episode the character, like, because Miss Devlin is the devil. I love her bucket hat with like the horns, and then we see like her actual horns kind of like when she takes it off too. I thought that was kind of a
Yeah.
really great way of playing on that.
And
I
he just
liked that.
accepted it.
Mhm.
He just went with it and was like, okay, yeah, you're the devil and we're making a deal.
Yeah, but I think he might have connected it with being like Devlin's travel agency. Oh, this is the devil kind of thing. I thought it was interesting that the character was played, you know, as a female, just because in, like before this to my recollection, we've only really seen the devil as kind of these like male figures, or in A Nick of Time, it's sort of like that like fortune telling thing with the devil on top of it. So I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
interesting sort of take on it, to have it be almost a play, an additional sort of, well, LOL, like
Yeah, it's like a
you're
reversal.
cringe, like
Like,
you're, yeah. But
um,
I'd say arguably it's like I think having the devil played by a woman in this particular episode, on top of like how he looks at the girl, for example, that he was like, oh yeah, like there was this girl from back in the day that, I could have been with. I think it plays on how he looks down upon kind of everybody who he's like one-upped in a way. But also I think it displays some kind of like almost like power play with him being this successful, rich, like businessman, hustler kind of figure, comparative to like women, and not necessarily seeing them in that kind of like seeing like that a woman could, I guess, take advantage of his greed and
well,
kind of like
that's
overlook that too.
well, I was gonna say on that note, I like how he like I said, I was saying earlier, he feels like he's one step ahead of her, but
Hmm.
in the end, she's literally playing him. It's like the exact opposite of a story, how the story would play out, where most of the time it would be I'm gonna like escape clause. I'm gonna sell my soul, but I'm gonna get the one up on you. And then you learn later on there's the clause between the clause that you didn't read because
Hmm.
he's not smart enough to read it, apparently, even though he's worth all his money. And I like that. I do. I really do. I just it's hard with that first like 10 minutes just to kind of go into that, because I think if it started like but the problem is like this story would fall apart if he wasn't the asshole he was in the beginning. So I don't know.
I think it's one of those situations where, I guess when I was watching it, I'll go off of this. Like when I was watching the episode, it almost made me think about if A Christmas Carol didn't have a happy ending to it. Like if Scrooge didn't have the redemption arc that he did, and that the future that he saw ended up being like what became the present, sort of thing. Like if it kind of had more of like a not so great resolution for him at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Um, but it also played on how even in A Christmas Carol with Scrooge, where it's like, he loses a relationship because he focuses so much on his business. He loses people because of his greed and because he doesn't see the meaning in being kind to people and, giving them their fair share of time off for Christmas, or a fair wage, so to say. And it's like having his relationships around other people be such shit amalgamate to him being the way he is, to where if Scrooge lived out his present into where he would, pass away, obviously there would be sort of this um in unison feeling of, oh, he's dead. Yeah, he wasn't that great of a guy towards the end of his life. And
Right.
even before that, he wasn't so great, kind of thing. So I guess it's more playing on how with um with Feathersmith being more of this Scrooge, of him seeing that, not your life doesn't necessarily revolve entirely on work, or it doesn't entirely revolve around you simultaneously with that. Like the work, like it's very like self-centered, but also just very greedy at the same time. And so when it came to him being like, oh, I can potentially make even more money because I know how to play this game of like doing a deal, and this land has oil, so surely I'm going to benefit from this, um and sort of reap that, versus, just him being appreciative at the very least of like where he is, or at least being content with where he is. Because I think often with even characters in the Twilight Zone, but also I think something that's pretty common amongst just people in general, is that they don't feel like there is an end necessarily to what they're chasing. so to speak. So like, or like how I guess it's like you can constantly chase this dream, chase this hustle, and like be constantly productive towards something. And even when you reach this sort of success or fame or like wealth, so to say, it's like even then it's like you're not happy or you're not satisfied or you're missing something kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of, I don't know. I hopefully the Scrooge thing kind of makes a little bit of sense because that was kind of the best way of me like being able to
Yeah, I
evaluate
mean,
it in that lens. But
it's one of those things where, as you just mentioned, where the guy is just very curmudgeon and very evil and conniving, and like you said, he has his comeuppance with the I don't know. She's not. She's technically all the. I guess she was the ghost of Christmas past or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting because it's a character that really has to sell the idea of wanting something, but also the snide nature of who he is. And I don't know. I found that fascinating when, especially when it gets to Cliffordville, because when he first of all, apparently he teleports to a plane and then he teleports to a train. I was waiting for the automobile and then it eventually came. So it was just like, I don't know. I also like the fact that she gives him $1,400 and that's exactly what he needs to pretty much buy the land. But Jacob.
I think maybe she that was by design.
Oh no, it was definitely by design. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
100%. Like I do appreciate that Rod Serling he's taking the time to give us some what's that when they set up the thing that have foreshadowing. She basically has all these pieces in place, like the $1,400 and the idea of him still being 70 and all that stuff. And you just there's a lot of foreshadowing when it comes to that nature of like how his character is going to play out and the how it's set up in a lot of respects. And I don't know. I like I said, I like it. I appreciate it just for that. And
Mhm.
um, like I said,
She
when
gives
it
off like a very
yeah,
like seductive, like she has this like seductive cunningness to her when you see her on screen. I
right.
would say, like, I think, I don't know. I personally thought like she, not to be have modern slang or anything, but I was like, she slayed. Like, I
Mm,
think she nailed it, basically. But I think what I liked too about when we got to the travel agency and their banter was that she very much was encouraging him to kind of like continue that momentum of, oh, like I want this and that. And it's like, oh yeah, we can make that happen. Like we can absolutely do what you want to do. Like very much like brushing along his ego and his like, oh yeah, like you're not gonna take advantage of me because I'm, I have all this money and I, am such a know-it-all about, just how this sort of thing works,
We can do that
kind
for
of
the low
thing.
price of $36 million.
Yeah. But I think that also was like playing along and being like, oh yeah, like you're worth this much. Like that's
mm.
all it'll cost,
I
sort of
just like
thing.
how
And
he's
then
like,
you'll be able to come back.
yeah, he's like, oh, that's the best part. Like he's like, oh, that's fine. I'll have there'll be a chance to buy oil and be with
Mhm.
the banker's daughter, and I'm gonna be rich. And it definitely backfired. But the one thing I got
Mhm.
to bring up to Jacob and Alex, you may know this as well, but there's one thing in this episode that will remind me of working at a hotel or a building in general is the fact that the Devlin's on the 13th floor. Which, as you're aware, there's usually no 13th floor in a building because of superstitious natures. And yeah, that's the biggest sin it causes where after he walks out and he looks back, there's still rooms on the 13th floor, which is something that I don't know if Alex, you know anything about or ever heard of about buildings in general.
I've heard of it before. I know I'm sure there are some buildings that just have a 13th floor because they go in numerical order. I know that's something that's I haven't seen the Twilight Zone movie that's more that you can kind of see more based on the well, either based on or what um I guess was adapted into the theme park attraction in Hollywood Studios, like the Twilight Zone ride. I know
Tower of
now in
Terror.
Disneyland yeah, well I know at Disneyland it's like Mission Breakout now.
Yeah. Oh,
Um
by the way, Alex, Jacob thought that
mhm.
was at Universal.
I still say it was. I swear Tower of Terror was, or whatever
So
it was.
what was
It
the
was
IP
Universal.
that you thought Mission Breakout was based on?
No, Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I swear that was a Universal. I still to this day swear that was a Universal.
You should
I
go to
went to
Universal and ask them that question.
Where?
I
Where
went
did
to
you
U-
think
well,
that
I
would
went to
be?
I went to Disney World and Universal on the same trip.
Oh my
It's the only time I've been to
God.
either one. And I liked Universal a whole lot more than I did Disney World. And I swear to God, that ride was the first ride I rode at Universal, and it was when you walked in the park, it was like there.
It's
I
probably
remember the
Dr. Doom's
ride.
Fearfall. Well, how
I
long
remember
ago was this? How long ago were you there? Like, how long ago was this?
I would have been, it's probably 93, 94.
Okay, yeah, there was no. I would say there's no Islands of Adventure at the time. Actually, no, you could. Actually, I don't think Tower of Terror opened until 95, 94.
Maybe it was
It
95.
was somewhere in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
But
It was there. Well, I rode the damn thing. They had the holograms. You kind of like just do the steady, and it's just a free fall drop at the end. But
Yeah.
yeah, I rode it. But I went back when they still had like Jaws and King Kong and Earthquake and Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, all those rides.
Indiana
Jaws was
Jones
so
is not
cool.
Universal.
Huh?
Also.
It wasn't. It was Universal. They bought it from Universal. I swear.
He's mixing them up too much, Nick. I don't know what's happening.
I
think
know.
you just have to go again. I think it's the solution here.
I mean, I have the thumbnail says here. It says the original Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it.
No. Have you ridden
Ruined
Tower
my
of Terror?
childhood.
I'm assuming, Alex, have you ridden it before?
I haven't actually.
No?
Yeah, because like the last time I went to Disney World, I was like planning on it, but there was just such a long ass wait for it. And like, especially for the Florida parks, I remember that like they weren't open as long as like the ones at the Disneyland Resort are. So it was like, shit, maybe next time. I've gone on Mission Breakout like once though, so it's like I kind of know of like a little bit of what it's like, but that one just like
What is
shakes
Mission
the shit out
Breakout?
of you. It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh. Did they turn Tower of Terror into Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, well, it's
Oh
in
my God.
California Adventure, yeah.
That's at Disneyland, right?
Yeah,
I've been
well,
to
it's in
Disneyland too.
there's like the Disneyland Resort, and then there's like Disneyland and California Adventure, basically. So it's in their second park.
I went to Disneyland the week Beetlejuice came out. I only remember that because I saw Beetlejuice on that same trip in LA.
Oh,
Well, now you need to go back out there because Beetlejuice is coming out.
Yeah,
you make it like a
visit.
yeah.
I remember they had Space Mountain and stuff like that. They didn't have all that other stuff.
That's so funny.
I need to go back out to Disneyland. I haven't been there since 2011. So even
I was
before
gonna
Cars
joke.
Land.
Yeah, I was gonna joke and be like, Shirley, I think you just went on Cat in the Hat and then just like had some kind of fever dream that the Twilight Zone was in universe.
No.
I mean, that ride is a fever dream in its own right. So
that ride was wild. I'd love to go on
Yeah.
it again.
it hasn't hold up. Actually, I just
Alfred
found
Hitchcock
this.
ride with 3D before 3D. That kind of 3D was in theaters. Everybody was
Yeah,
ducking,
yeah.
thinking things were going to hit them. It's the birds, I think. Yeah.
Actually, the pre-show for Tower of Terror was directed by Joe Dante. That's interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a good pre-show. I like it. Anyways, where were we? What were we talking about? I gotta go back to find.
I think we're traveling the Cliffordville.
Oh yeah. But like I said, I like the setup. Julie Newmar is absolutely wonderful. She's just like she's fun and campy and weird and strange, but just like gives this episode levity and kind of lightness, even though
it's
she's
like
playing
she
the
knows
devil.
she's the best thing in the episode too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it looks
she
like she was
should.
having fun.
Yeah, she's like the best devil here because she's got like this
She's the best devil in the series.
Confidence.
Can we just kind of
a slight arrogance about her? Like
I'd
when
say
she's
as
talking,
far
to you,
as
she's
like,
yeah, you should do this. We got you.
I mean, as far as like
so
Twilight
smart.
Zone episode devils, I think she's probably the best, to be fairly
I
honest.
think it's because it's like she takes the role so seriously, but it's also
Yeah.
just so charming and just having like the best time of her life at the same time. Where it's like, I think for like some of the other devil characters, it was more of like, it definitely like teetered between like, do we play this entirely serious or do we like have a little more fun with it and it's campy? But it's like, I think she very much knew like where to be like in the middle, I think, to where it's like, it was like an enjoyable performance overall.
I mean, compared to like whatever Albert Selmy's doing with his mannerisms, it definitely is a much needed character, I guess. But when Albert Selmy becomes his actual age, I think he was like in his 30s or something. How old was he? Like 28, 38. So he was like in his 30s when he actually did the episode.
Hmm.
I think Albert Selmy is a lot better in his role. I think when he's trying to play old, it's just so weird and off-putting. And it just when he's playing that smarmy asshole, but like he plays a smarmy asshole in the 1910 version. I think it's funny that he thinks he's so smart that he's going to get oil out. And you look at the banker who he basically like the negotiation is pretty amazing because he's like, well, we'll sell it to you for $4. He's like, no, I'm going to sell it to you for 50 cents. He's like, okay, we'll go $3. No, 75 cents. And you could just tell the banker's just in his head. He's going, yeah, get it to $1, get it to $1. We know it's going to happen here. And they get to $1, so he's paying basically what he has in the amount. He thinks he's going to, get one up on Dietrich again, like he did in the beginning. And I love the payoff of it because it's like, well, how you gonna get that oil out? Yeah, you have oil sitting there, but it's like, dude, just wait 20 years. Wait for those donuts to fall out of the sky like it does in The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror or something like that. It's just like the impatientness of him and his arrogance and his not seeing the bigger picture is what the biggest problem in the long run of his character is. Not in a bad way, but it's just like, dude, you have this. I mean, find a job for 30, 20 years until they, create the oil bit or the drill.
But his
It's like
body was going to die
well, that's true.
because
That's
he
a
was
good
still
point.
75 years old or 70. I think in the show they say 70 years old, but I was looking on Wikipedia and they say he's 75. So I don't know. He was old.
He old.
Hmm.
Didn't die.
Yeah. I know Miss Devlin said she said a really good line like during her like monologue thing where she's like grilling his ass, where he basically was like, yeah, you leaped before you looked, as far as
Yeah.
like, the age thing of like ultimately that kind of being his sort of downfall from his riches and from that higher position that he held. Ultimately, that very much was like how he felt like his life purpose was going to be, just and I think to have that just pretty much gone was and you can
Yeah.
tell that it was like for the character it definitely was like a very like devastating blow,
Mhm.
but it definitely was something where it was like, yeah, we kind of saw this coming as the
Yeah.
audience. And I think
Which
I
yeah, I mean, it's basically a very straightforward, not really surprising type of episode where it's going to go back
Mhm.
to, the minute he signs the contract for $36 million, you're like, yep, he's either going to be the janitor or he's going to die of a heart attack or something's going to happen. And when Julie Newmar like approaches him, he's like, well, you're an abuser, you're a user, you manipulate people. And I was just waiting for him to say you're a toker, you're a smoker, you're a midnight joker type of thing. And it doesn't happen, Jacob. It doesn't happen. No, but like I just like the whole idea of like going back and remembering your youth and remembering the past. You actually go, it'd be funny for like me to go back to high school with all the people that picked on me as a kid and stuff like that, and looking at them now, and it's just like they're probably not as cool as I thought they were back in the day, or they thought they were, or something like that.
it's like the rose tinted glasses sort of
Mm.
concept where it's like you remove them and then you see more of the reality versus the, I guess, like I don't, I was gonna say like encompassment, but it's like you look at, I think sometimes you can easily look at the past in a more holistic viewpoint versus kind of looking at it for what it was.
Yeah, it's like me
Rose-tinted
wanting to go back to.
glasses.
Yeah.
Everything. Rose tinted glasses.
You just have literally. You have like was it like a magic bag of just nonsense on your
I've got shit
desk?
all over this room. These are my rose tinted glasses from my video though. Every video have my rose tinted glasses because I paid for them bitches on Amazon. I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah, you like throw them away every time you do an episode of review or
Yeah, it's just kind of
a
become
retro.
a thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like if me wanting to go back and experience the 80s or 90s, like, is it really as good as I remember it? It's probably not.
I was gonna lean into the I pulled out Zikri's book which
Damn, that's
for
a big
those who
book.
don't know is like one of the couple of like companions for the Twilight Zone series. I try to like reference it when I can. But it's funny here because when it's mentioned for this episode for page 342 for those who are listening and maybe have their book with them.
Following your
Maybe
book.
My
not.
book's
Maybe
somewhere.
they're just
Follow
tuning
along.
in.
I actually don't know
But
where
yeah,
my book's
there's
at.
it kind of mentions that that the short story was very essentially just like an adaptation from a short story called Blind Alley. I'm just gonna read it because I don't know how to better paraphrase it, I guess, because it's like it's pretty much just what we got from the episode. But it says, quote, in 1963, Serling purchased Blind Alley, a short story written in 1943 by Malcolm Jameson for his anthology Rod Serling's Triple W, Witches, Warlocks, and Werewolves. The story concerned an elderly, unscrupulous millionaire industrialist who, on his last legs, makes a deal with the devil to go back in time 40 years to Cliffordville, the town of his boyhood, with the intention of starting over. Only trouble is that he forgot to mention that he wanted to be young again, in parentheses it says, foolishly assuming it was part of the deal, so that he arrives in town old and sick and dies soon after, basically. So.
Yeah, the turkey's a little dry. Exactly.
But it's interesting that in the short story that he does kind of succumb to his age, versus in this one you kind of see him all sweaty and very much like they're trying to convey that like he's feeling it physically when he's just sort of like sweaty, like I'm like weak.
Yeah, he's it's the sweatiest episode of the series. I'll give it that much.
Well, no, where is everybody? I think he was also like super sweaty.
Yeah, that's true. That's before they figured out you don't want to make people sweaty.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some sweaty episodes in this series.
Very sweaty.
There is The Lonely.
Yeah,
Jacob's favorite episode, The Lonely.
Yeah.
The Lonely.
Yeah.
Very sweaty.
Yeah. Oh, the Midnight Sun was also.
Oh yeah, that's probably the
sweatiest.
sweatiest.
That was Midnight Sweaty Sun.
Yeah, it's I like how he once he realizes that he's being. What's that?
You like how sweaty it is?
Yes. Yes, sweaty balls. Yeah, it's very sweaty. No, I like how when he realizes when Dietrich and the banker kind of got one over on him about it's 1910, there are no drill bits that can get the oil. He goes straight to the guys that have like the early invention of the car, which Cliffordville I don't think would have a car. I'm sorry, but like it's very much a very small town, so them having a car is a little.
Here?
Huh?
I got issues with that.
Well, that's the funny part.
I don't think he had a plan.
But
I think that's
when he says I have like
$200
he's like I have intimate knowledge of all these inventions. You know that they were made. That's like me going back to like the 30s and being like, "Hey, hear me out.
I mean, at least I'll say at least Scotty knew how to make.
I know it exists. That doesn't mean like I'm just gonna say what it is. Somebody they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I got you."
Well, I mean,
why did he think he would just be able to mention this thing to these people and they'd be able to be like, "Yeah, let me throw that together."
Yeah, where's the blueprints? Do you have any blueprints?
I mean, I feel like how did he make all his money? I don't think it was from being.
Well,
smart.
I mean, he's unlike Scotty in Voyage Home in Star Trek, where he actually had the plans for transparent aluminum.
Computer.
No, I was gonna say I think that's part of like how they play on the fact that like with him feeling like he has power over the situation, like power and control over the situation, like because of like where he is like personally before we see him in Cliffordville, where it's like, oh, I know these people, they can just do what I want them to do or whatever. But he obviously kind of backfires on him in that way too.
Yeah, the camera backfires on him too. It keeps shifting. Apparently he is in a tunnel that's spinning because he can't keep track of can't keep hold of the Earth. Camera fails on him too. I like the camera movements in this episode. It was like Dutch angle, but 10 times the magnitude. I don't know.
That's a good movement. Ooh.
Well, yeah. Well, no, like when he's like when the camera's going. And it's actually rotating like 360 degrees or 180 or whatever, and he is trying to hold on to the. Yeah, he's trying to hold on to the door. I feel like he's being like thrusted out of like gravity's gone away or whatever. But I like that kind of stuff. It adds tension. I don't know how I feel about the voiceover that we just heard like a minute prior.
Yeah,
You know,
it's the same thing. It's just the scene earlier, the audio
yeah.
from that scene with the echo effect.
It's like we ran out of money, so we'll just use the same dialogue from like a minute prior. But
That seemed like an editing choice. Somebody in the editing bay made that choice. Oh, we need something here.
yeah,
I got this audio.
I like the matte layering when Devlin comes back into the episode though. Like the way you kind of see her head. Like I feel like
oh yeah,
that actually blended pretty nicely. I thought it looked pretty good. Like I feel like that effect held up really well in this episode.
I
Versus
almost
like
thought it was
some
like
of the like older episodes like before this.
right. I almost thought it was like a Wizard of Oz type of effect. I think there was a that's very similar, but I like it's actually very similar to like something like Pleasantville or I can't remember. I was thinking of another movie or TV show where there's always somebody in the background watching, whether it be the devil or Don Knotts or something like that. And I like that what she basically does is she sells him on a half bill of goods. Like she's giving him what he wanted, but she's also hiding that other half bill of goods that he will have to, I don't know, repay in full in some form. And I just like that because when he's like, I feel like I'm still 70, like I thought it was supposed to be 30. Well, that's kind of not what you asked for. And then, the idea of like, well, I can send you back, but you'll have to, give me a commission fee or a fee of $40. And she's just constantly like there's always something that she's hiding, and that makes a good kind of devil character that I really appreciate. And it leads to Hector, whatever his name is, like he just happens to be riding horses down the street. And of course, Feathersmith's like, hey, you want to buy some deeds? You want to liquidate my deeds for $40? And
Yeah, see?
yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're gonna the train that will take you back to the present will be here in a minute. And I don't know, it's good stuff. It really is, because like I said, that's when she calls him like an abuser, a pusher. She talks about how he's using people for his own wealth. It's like very much a can't remember what that word's called, but it's very much a American thing to stomp on the other people. But I don't know. There's also the yellow flags, which represent typhoid. He's like, oh, but oh no, I guess we don't have vaccines. So I thought it was a pretty good touch.
I love the delivery of her being like, yeah, I guess I have an ounce of sympathy sort of thing. Like how it's like really hard for her to just kind of say that word of being like, I'll have a heart for you in this instance, but I'm still gonna be a little devilish in this situation because I can.
Yeah, apparently she didn't want. Apparently he didn't listen to Rolling Stone's "Sympathy for the Devil." You don't have sympathy. Anyways,
I haven't heard that song before.
Oh no, it's just called "Sympathy." I don't think it has nothing to do with the Twilight Zone. It's just a Rolling Stone song called "Sympathy for the Devil." I don't know, but like I said, he sells to Hector, and then roles reverse in the end of the episode where he's the I thought I think the ending was a little. I don't know how you guys feel about this. The ending's a little weird on the simple fact that like Feathersmith doesn't really seem to be bothered. Like it almost like his memory was wiped on the idea
I
of
think
like.
he lived a humbled life, essentially, when he came back.
But when did he come? Because it almost feels like when he came back, he had been a janitor for all his life.
Well, yeah, she put him back, and I imagine like she put him right back where he was, but in that time period, it adjusted. And even though I guess he had the experiences in his head of living that 40 years as a janitor, but I'm assuming he also had the experiences of living it as the tycoon. So maybe he was a bit humble. That's why in the beginning, the guy who was the janitor at first, I felt like something was up with that guy. Like it was kind of the same exact interaction. Like that guy, like something was going on with him too. That's why I was like, is this kind of like a loop thing? Like each time the janitor takes over, or not takes over, but they pass the janitor mop to the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why I said it's a little weird because it's just like he almost. I mean, I get if he accepts it, but he just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that throughout the entire episode that would accept. Like once again, it feels like that he made a deal with Julie Newmar's devil character to forget everything and just go be whatever he is. Now that the plan has changed and everything's reversed, and now Hectic's like the asshole boss or whatever. But I don't know,
Well, I mean,
Alex. What do you
40
think?
years of living that way probably changed a man.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, but there's no real. It doesn't really make any sense on the simple fact that, like, it doesn't give us any reason or logic of how long he went. I don't know, like this, like, so he went back to 1963. He has the memories of what happened to him, but he's humbled by that. I don't
I'm assuming he
know.
has the past 40 years memories of being a janitor too. I guess. I don't know. I'm
I
pulling
don't
this
know.
out of my ass.
Alex, do you have any thoughts on this?
I get where they were going for, at least with the ending, where he ends up. I think, as you guys said, it's like he just becomes humbled and isn't in that position of power like he was before. Um, and I'm not necessarily sure like what they were going for as far as like what he remembered from that experience and like where that could have led to him being the janitor. If anything, I can maybe see how they could have done the ending where Diedrich and Feathersmith pretty much switched roles. So like Diedrich was the one with more of the upper hand versus Feathersmith, because that was
Yeah.
something that was definitely, played upon in the beginning. And then there was that interaction with the janitor where when I was like rewatching it here, I felt that the janitor played a sort of role where it sort of triggered him to be like, "Oh, Cliffordville, like, yeah, I remember that place." Like I think looking at it in hindsight, you know, it was this great position, but I don't I don't know. I think
'Cause-
maybe if they kept it to like just Diedrich and Feathersmith without it, I think part of it is like the janitor makes it a little fuzzy. And if they kept it to just kind of that rivalry, maybe,
Mhm.
um, maybe it could have been
Well,
played up better, but I'm not super
yeah,
sure.
because that's the thing. Like, it almost needs to explain, which I don't usually agree with, that maybe like when he transferred back to 1963, like the memories of what he was faded, so now he's given like there's the idea of like when you change time, everybody's memory fades into something like the current state. It's like the movie Dark City, where when they change everything, they erase people's minds and they implant
Tuning.
new ones. What's that?
When they
Yeah,
tune.
tuning. Yeah. But that's what was a little confusing here for me with Hectic. Like I agree, like maybe you could get rid of Hectic and I don't know, himself, whatever, but it's just really weird that he goes back and he's not like jealous of Hectic or whatever his name is. That he's just kind
Mhm.
of accepting of his station. I don't know. There's like a weird edit cut that happens
I
between
think he
those two
is.
moments.
And I think he realizes that he used to be there, but I think he knows he has no choice. I mean, he's dealing with the
I mean,
devil.
that's
I
true,
think he's
but like
accepted
you would
it.
still see that sense of like that
I mean,
resentment, which he
you
never
get like
appears to
some
have.
when he's talking to him, like there's like some regret or something in there. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, you get that. That I felt like he did remember sitting in that seat, but he knows there's nothing he can do about it.
It's just weird
Yeah.
because I feel like the janitor was like he really wasn't more than a plot device
It
to
sure
lead
was.
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah.
Cliffordville, whereas I feel like if that was maybe mentioned between that rivalry, right, of like
Well, that's a
Cliffordville and being like, oh, like I think of how things were and how I was able to one up you. I'd love to go back and do it all over again or something. And maybe that leads into like, the devil character coming in and being like, well, you're a good candidate for us to do this, but I
that's the
don't
thing.
I don't
Like,
know.
the idea of like those two being from Cliffordville is a weird kind of thing to me to begin with. But the thing that they could have done that actually leans more into what you're saying, Alex, is they could have like had the banker and this other guy, what the hell is his name, Dietrich,
Mhm.
be not that they wouldn't know each other, and have, for instance, like, Feathersmith buy the stock from or buy the land from the banker, and he's like looking for someone to, like, I don't know, looking for someone to buy it back or whatever, and then he comes across a guy just passing through town. You don't see who it is, and like he transports back to 1963. He realizes that he's not in charge, and he sees like Dietrich's name on the door, which you could have that twist that Twilight Zone is known for. And Dietrich's now, he talked about how, he was driving through Cliffordville, which, was something that the Twilight Zone could do. They've been known to do. And he bought all the stock and he realized there's oil on it. So I think they're maybe adding too many people. Like Dietrich, I don't even know why Dietrich happens to be in this town. Like, it doesn't make any sense because, when Hectic and Feathersmith talk, they talk about they're from Cliffordville, but Dietrich just knows the bank. That's the weird part. Dietrich just knows the banker. Like, you could just have him not know him, and just, once again, he doesn't. You don't even have to see Dietrich. He just sells to a guy, and you find out Dietrich was the guy he sold to, and that would be a good payoff for this guy who becomes a janitor in the long run because he screwed over Dietrich earlier in the episode. I don't know. I think that
I
maybe
think
would
the whole
work.
like transportation, like point of entry thing in that Cliffordville was like a little clunky here. Whereas I
Yeah,
think if it was like in walking distance, for example, where, he happens to travel, like maybe Cliffordville was like some neighborhood city that he was traveling down and then was like, oh, like I remember being successful and, my success originated from this city. Like, let me go explore it and see what it's like or something.
yeah, it's really convenient
It's like,
plotting.
yeah, because otherwise it's like, because it goes from the travel agency and then it just jumps into him being like, well, you have to be on this, type of transportation to get to Cliffordville. And then you need to be on this other type of transportation to, get out of Cliffordville to go back into the real world, like, the present day, like real world situation. So I feel
Yeah,
like they could have chosen like, I mean, maybe if they did an airplane there and an airplane back, maybe, it could have been more of like I know like Animal Crossing's New Horizons. This is a random reference, but
we are all about the
but
randomness.
but like I know in that game it's like if you want to travel to a different island to like, potentially have villagers come onto it or to get certain resources, it's like you would do that, like they'd have like a loading screen with like this airplane because they have their own like airline service in game that you go to and then it just plays the load screen back. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
your entry in and out. So they could have done something like that potentially, but I think almost having it to where it's like I feel like that could have been a little more consistent. Or I think even with a stop at Willoughby, where it's like he's on one train, but then it's like when when he's like in the dream sort of sequences, he's on a train from a different era.
Yeah,
Because like I don't because airplanes weren't a common form of transportation in 1910. Like I feel like that could have made more
right.
sense to just have the train. And that's in that case, or like, or
Yeah,
maybe
it's the
like,
same thing with like
I
the
don't know.
automobile. It's like it seems to look like convenient plotting to have the automobile, and then, once again, it's in a small town. I know automobiles were around for the most
Hmm.
part in the 1910s, but it's like
But there's still like the
this.
carriage though,
Yeah,
where
well,
it's
there
like
is,
it was
but
like,
like,
yeah.
but the time, but they have an automobile, and that's just very weird. That almost feels like 1960s thinking. Like, oh yeah, all small towns had vehicles at this time. Like, no, I think it took maybe to the 20s and 30s before you truly started to see that happen. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know.
Well, I think it might have been one of those things too, where anytime there was some new form of like, I don't know, like entertainment or transportation or something, like it always was like those who are more economically well off being able to experience and indulge in those things first, and then it became more of like a common thing that like everyone could afford over time.
Right.
Yeah, I thought the travel was really weird. I
I'm
didn't
glad we
even
can
wake up
agree.
there. I
No, no,
didn't.
I was actually looking something up what I was talking about. Like, the vehicle didn't really become like the huge thing till like the mid 20s. So that I mean, that's just my nitpick. Like I said, whatever. I mean, it's a cool hat, but because it has to deal with the plot. But it was just like, self starter and stuff like that, and they like
I mean,
laughing at him. And
if it wasn't like Indianapolis, or something.
Yeah, that's
Versus like
Clifford.
Cliffordville, then it's like I can believe there maybe being this, hybridity between like using carriages and cars or something.
Yeah,
But
because this
it's
feels
just
like
like it's just yeah.
feels like a
It's
country
just
town type of thing. Like not really
yeah.
country, but like industrial town or whatever. But I don't know. It is what it
Mhm.
is. But I mean that's pretty much the episode. Like I said, Feathersmith goes back and he's now the janitor, and Hectic or Hecte or whatever his name is the rich guy, powerful owner of this property, having bought that 40 shares, old enough to, the oil and stuff like that. So, with that said, was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about on the episode? Anything you wanted to bring up? It's now that we talk about it, it's a perfectly fine Twilight Zone episode that has its issues when it comes to what it tries to do. We all have different opinions on where the story should go, but just for the most part, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely as the
Middle of the
rankings
road.
trip. Yeah, I got 102 on IMDb, and I think Pace Magazine gave it like 140 or something like that, if I remember right.
40, damn. I don't think it's that bad. 102 is
I don't know.
out
It's
of
a very
156.
156. Let me double
I could
check.
see 102. I'd probably, I mean, depending on what else they
140.
had
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
I'd probably put it a little bit higher. But yeah, I could see it around, like, once we're all said and done, 156 episodes. I could see it up there in the, 80s, 90s, or low
Mhm.
hundreds, that area.
Right. I mean, it's underneath the passerby. If that makes you feel any better, Jacob.
It does. It does. Makes me feel much better. You know what it's not under, though?
I'm not saying it. Anyways, Alex, did you have anything else you want to talk about with the episode at all?
I'm just so fucking ready to get out of Cliffordville. I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to leave.
I mean, we could head into the wonderful world of Horace Ford or whatever his name is, the one with Pat Hingle, and
Oh,
deal with his.
brother. I don't
We're
know.
getting
That's
close
any.
to the end.
I mean, listen. If I was talking to Devlin right now, I'd be like, just get me to Horde. Just I'm fine being in Horde's world if I don't have to be in this one anymore. But
Alex, I mean, you could either stay in Cliffordville or you could go meet the Bard. I don't know what you want to do.
oh, I prefer the Bard.
Oh, okay.
Actually, 100%. I mean, we're talking about Shakespeare in that episode. Are you kidding?
No, I know they put the bar pretty low though. I think that it's like near the bottom of the whole entire.
Is that the next bad one? Because I've heard you guys talk about that one too.
I just heard it's 155, so it's like the second to last on
Damn.
the.
What's their last?
That's
What's their
rude.
worst episode?
The one you wouldn't let me put at the bottom, Jacob. I Dream of Genie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
That's
actually,
what-
that's crazy.
I mean, it's not a great episode by any means, but
Ironically, Alex, the worst episode on IMDb is the Bard. So, I
I
mean,
really didn't think
151.
that episode was that bad.
I mean,
When are we
it's one of those
watching
where
that?
like.
I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, you guys will get to it when you get to it, but like,
Oh no, you're
Yeah,
coming
you
on
have
for
to-
that
Yeah, that's-
episode.
you
You
have
gotta
to come on
convince
for
us
that.
that that's good because I'll probably be like, this episode sucked.
Yeah,
You're like,
next
no, that
week-
episode's number
Well-
69.
Be like, I mean, it ain't that bad.
I guess I'll be there for the Bard. Listen, I will defend certain aspects of that episode, so help me.
When is that
Listen.
episode? Is that soon?
It's
That's the season
it's the last
finale.
episode of season 4.
We're like
Okay,
5 episodes away,
I was
Jacob.
gonna say because we're not
Mhm.
far from wrapping this season up.
I will say
Yeah.
that compared to, I know season 3 took us a little bit longer because I did my 12th move of the year or something like that. But season 3 felt like it took forever to get through. Season 4,
did.
not so much. Like it's actually been
It is
kind of
shorter.
surprising. I mean, it's not that it's still 19 episodes, but it's like
It's
feel like
it's the
that.
same amount of like time.
Yeah,
but it's less episodes because the episodes are twice as long. But
right. But I feel like it's not been as like grueling as I was expecting. Like
and
it's
season 3 was just mediocre, dude. And sometimes just like
Mhm.
a barrage of mediocrity is worse than just being bad. Because if it's bad, and you know this, like doing movie reviews, I would rather review a great movie or a terrible movie over just a meh movie. Because like
Right.
movies that are just kind of like middle of the road and just kind of mediocre, what do you say about that or anything? What do you
Mhm.
You're just like, yeah, it's fine. You can't really say much about it. Like if they're really bad, you can get passionate about how much they suck. If it's great, you can talk about how much it was great. If it's just what do you just say, man, it was and you're done. I hated those. I hated movies like that. There's a lot of them. And that's what season 3 was. It was a lot of There's some great ones, but it was a lot of
See, I agree with
What?
you too. Like those episodes would be lower on my list because it's like, well, if you're not even gonna be memorable enough for me to even be like to look at the title and be like, oh yeah, I remember that episode being pretty good, then it's like, what's the fucking point?
Oh, there's a lot of season 3 episodes that I would put lower than we did.
Yeah, I
You
would.
would, you could, but we didn't.
Mhm.
You would, you should, but we.
Yeah.
I mean, I looking at season 5. I mean, for 1, 2, 3, 4, episode 6, 7. I mean, those are all pretty good episodes, except for Last Night of the Jockey, which I heard is not very good. I don't
That's
know.
in season 3?
No, season 5.
Oh, season 5.
Yeah, no, I was looking ahead to like how good season 5 is, and Praise of Pip is the season opener, and then Steel, which is the Richard Matheson boxer robot movie book.
Well, I know you
Nightmare
mentioned how
Real
you
Steel?
mentioned black leather jackets being
Yeah, I
one
heard
that,
that's
like,
terrible. Yeah, I heard that's real bad. That
yeah. But you see, that's an episode I would put lower because like
mhm.
if it's an episode where I watch it and I'm like, I don't even want to watch it ever again. Like,
Right.
I didn't like it. I didn't, those are the episodes to me that would be lower on the list versus like, well, I didn't like this or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean, we still have Spur of the
Critics are
Moment,
critics.
one of the weirdest episodes I've ever seen.
What's that?
That's the one with the woman keeps keeps thinking someone's chasing after her, and ends up being like
Was that an episode from season 1 or?
no, Spur of the Moments where this woman sees somebody up in the hillside and is chasing after her and ends up being herself chasing after herself. It's really fucking
I
weird.
remember that vaguely. I
Yeah.
remember that twist.
I don't remember that at all.
You know it if you saw. I'm pretty sure you've seen it before. You know it if you saw it. But yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about on of late? I think of Cliffordville. No, there. No, nah, bro.
Could have been shorter.
You know what's shorter? The closing narration.
True.
Oh,
Not much shorter, but shorter, definitely.
yeah, it is. And I've got it prepared right here. I've been waiting.
Right now.
I've read over it probably a solid 20 times, and I absolutely have it pulled up and ready to go. I'm not pulling it up right now. Mr. William J. Feathersmith, tycoon, who tried the track one more time and found it muddier than he remembered, proving, with at least a degree of conclusiveness, that nice guys don't always finish last, and some people should quit while they're ahead. Tonight's tale of Iron Men and Irony, delivered FOB from the Twilight Zone.
Apparently, FOB means free on board. By the way, I don't
Yeah,
know
it's a
why.
shipping term.
Yeah, which is weird.
Iron Man and Irony.
Right.
It's my life.
Apparently, some of the crates from the new exhibit are in Cliffordville.
Oh yeah. They're wax. Those are wax.
Fragile.
Milk.
Yeah. Anyways, that is season 4, episode 14, which is called of late I think of Cliffordville. Yeah, it's an episode. We had thoughts, we had opinions. It was crazy. So with that said, let's talk about how we want to rank those opinions and craziness and things with the Twilight Zone ranking list, the greatest ranking list, because I said so, and Alex, I don't think said so, but Rod Serling would definitely have said so in his rolling of his grave. Number 115.
115? No.
Nah, I was joking. I don't know. What do you guys want?
81 to 115, by the way. Is that all you sent?
I sent you the whole chat. How do you only have 80? Okay, then yeah, 81 through 115. We'll start there.
Can I get like one more section?
No, how do you not? I thought I sent it to you. Hold on.
I got the whole list.
Yeah. That's
Maybe
all
it's
that
'cause-
matters.
Were you sending it like when I was coming on? Maybe if I wasn't in here yet when you sent it.
I mean, it's possible.
Get it, perhaps.
That just means we have to send it again, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send it again. Make me do work. Hate working.
Do you want me to do it?
Nah, I got it. Hold on a second.
There we go. Now it's all out of order.
Well, whose fault is that for coming on late, huh, Jacob? Huh?
What is this?
I just
What
sent 81
is
through
this?
115.
What
Hold on,
is this? He says.
I'll send the other part so your OCD doesn't kick in.
But now you have to remove the one from the top because I've got this really.
Oh my
this
God! Just
section.
I don't
scroll
speak- I
down,
don't-
dude.
I don't speak-
It's not that.
You know
I don't
what
speak
is on that
Spanish.
part of it though? On that part of the list is number 94.
94.
Oh.
Don't worry, Triv. I'm not gonna forget you.
Piano in the house.
The house.
Jesus.
That's for the end.
It's for Triv.
That's a prelude of things to
As
come.
for understudy, I had to say it at least once.
There you go.
sorry.
You guys kill me. Let's see. This is definitely above the mirror, so we can get rid of that list. I don't know. Like, is this better than like Elegy? Is this better than the Parallel? Is this?
Which one was the parallel?
I
just watched
saw
that.
that like 3
Yeah.
episodes ago
Yeah.
or something.
That's the one where everybody's the same but not the same.
Oh yeah. I remember that. They're like,
You
like
know, the
the
ship with the
spaceship.
wires and
Yeah.
the squeaky
that episode.
squeaky wheel and
The burst of light.
the
The
burst
white
of
picket
light.
fences. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
You know. We got Prime Mover, we got Fugitive.
I don't think this was as good as that parallel episode. What number is that?
It's 70 now. It's not even 69 anymore.
Oh man.
I know.
I know.
So you know where she wants to put
Is
this
that the
one.
that they remade.
No, I don't think this episode's that high, honestly.
I mean, the way Jacob, like, is this better than like Third from the Sun, Man, Nervous Man in $4 Room?
I don't think it's better than Third from the Sun. Nervous Man in $4 Room. I remember.
I was gonna
that
put
one.
it down by like the 80s.
Like around Icing the Body Electric, The Mirror,
Kind of around
22 Midnight.
well, I don't
Midnight Shoes.
trying to think of where I would put it. Because the thing is, like, I just wouldn't watch this episode again. Like, it wasn't
What's
like
Young Man's Fancy?
offensive or bad, but
That's the one where he becomes a kid, his mother is
Oh
overbearing.
yeah, I hated the
Mhm.
end of that one. With one more pallbearer. That one had
That's
a
with the
lot
fake
of,
tree that he cries to
Yeah.
at the end.
that one had a lot of potential and just they screwed the pooch.
like
I
feel
would
like
put
the
it in that area right there. I don't
Yeah.
think it's better than like Midnight Sun and Mute and things like that. Dead Man's Shoes is kind of. I don't think it's better than Dead Man's Shoes. Dead Man's Shoes was just a tighter experience, which is only 24 minutes. But
Is it better than
Young
Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank?
yeah.
I didn't hate that episode as much as you guys, but I didn't love it.
That was the
think
one
I
episode I
finally
wasn't
learned it.
on. I actually liked it. No, you guys hated that episode. I was the one that liked it.
Jeff Myrtlebank. I'm thinking of
The one where
shit.
he's like the devil or something, or not the
Yeah,
devil, like
yeah.
spawn of Satan or some shit.
No, I was thinking of the one that Triv really hates. With who's the actor who's in it? Where he's young and he's immortal, and then in the end he like dies and becomes like. Remember, it's the Walter Jameson.
Oh, long live
Long
Walter
live Walter
Jameson.
Jameson.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff
Yeah, that's
Myrtlebank
a
was
97.
okay. I didn't think as highly of it as you did.
I mean, I didn't like that episode too much, but like I would watch Walter Jameson over this one, personally.
Triv would have words with you over that.
Listen, this is why I'm the understudy and not actually Triv. Okay, there's a difference.
I mean, I would put this below Mute, above Dead Man's Shoes. I'm not a huge fan of Dead Man's Shoes, but I mean, it is about a guy who gets possessed by shoes.
I thought that was a fun episode. It wasn't great. It wasn't
Mm.
anything surprising, but I remember being like, I mean, this is fine. But I mean, I'm cool with that as long as it doesn't go below 90, because The Passerby sucks, and this is definitely better than The Passerby. Hate
I
that.
mean, if you had it your way, it'd be what, 37?
That episode had Abraham Lincoln in it.
I know that's what made it.
How could you hate it
I love Abraham
when it's
Lincoln, but I
Abraham Lincoln?
hate what they did.
I mean,
with it.
it's no 2000s with 2000s music version of it, but
Yeah, right. Hey, the 2000s
mean-
one actually was better than the original.
Jacob, I wouldn't go that far, sir.
It was. It
Mm.
just
I
had
appreciate
that,
your I
it was
appreciate your
very
optimism,
dated.
but
It was very of its
it's
time. I'll say
fucking
that.
Creed or some
With
shit,
like Creed in the
or
background. So, yeah.
with
Like,
arms wide open.
yeah, all that's you know exactly what year it is.
Oh my
I
god.
guess I'm
Yeah.
alone in my opinion about the passersby, but it's okay.
Well, no, I'm saying I'd rather watch this version than the 2000. The 2000 version is it's like when they remade they did a sequel to the Bill Mummy episode, the one with the kid, and
Oh yeah, I watched
Oh, it's
that
a
one
good
too.
life.
I watched that. It was
Sequel.
the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It
That
wasn't
ending
great.
was
Like his
horrible.
daughter was sending
Have you
people.
seen the one
Yeah,
in the have you seen the version in the Twilight Zone movie?
Yeah,
That's good.
The one
I
That's
like the Joe Dante's.
yeah.
Got like the
That
Tasmanian
one had
devil
like
and
a
everything.
fun twist to it, I think, but
That one was
like
creepy. The sister, oh my god, that
It had
terrified
Joe
me so
Dante's
I
much.
just
like
remember that rabbit.
Yeah,
right.
the rabbity head pop out of the Jack in the Box.
Mm-hmm.
They actually that had Joe Dante's like collection of people in all his movies in that. But that
Yeah.
actually Kevin McCarthy plays Walter Jameson. He's the guy who pulls the
Oh,
rabbit out of the
yeah,
hat.
Kevin McCarthy. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Yeah, he plays the
And,
grandfather in it.
Yeah, and his they're not related, but his supposed wife or whatever actually was in a Twilight Zone episode, and the girl is
Yeah.
Nancy Cartwright, who plays Bart Simpson, which is some
Yeah.
reference. And
Well, the end of that segment was kind of depressing. Like he just took the world to the cornfield.
no, he sent them back to their home.
But
He's like they're too
did
good for
we
the
get
home.
confirmation on that? He brought everything back.
Yeah,
Well,
he says
the
it.
world
He
back.
says it that she's like send them back, and he's like, except for the poor young girl who got eaten by the creature dragon
Simpson?
devil thing. Yeah, Bart Simpson. That fucking I love that, but it's so weird. We were going to talk about that, but Jacob couldn't come on.
I think we're going to at the end of this season.
I hope so.
Maybe we could do make up for my indiscretion.
No, we'll get there eventually. We have time, Jacob. We have time before we get into the 80s Twilight Zone and whatever
The 2000s
crap that was.
Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, and then whatever Jordan Peele was trying to do. Did you ever see the Jordan Peele one, Alex?
I've not seen any of them. Oh,
I haven't seen any of those episodes.
No. I knew there was something wrong when they had Adam Scott in the remake of the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, and they turned it into a podcast. It's so weird.
I only know of there's like one episode where they have like Rod, I guess, appear in it like posthumously or
Oh, yeah.
something. Like that's kind of like the only thing I've really seen of it, aside from knowing of
Well,
like the kind of like some of the actors who are in those episodes. But other than
yeah.
that-
Well, they made a sequel to Serve Man, which is apparently pretty awful. And
really?
why that episode?
yeah,
No, I mean I was like, why that episode?
I don't know, because Jordan Peele loves that episode. It's weird. I don't know what happened with why
They
Jordan
gotta
Peele.
pick, they gotta pick like the Bard or something. They gotta pick the episodes that are like, listen, we can do so
Or-
much better on
or hear me out.
IMDb than this.
Or hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Come up with an original episode.
There's nothing
Stop
original anymore,
remaking.
Jacob. You know this.
I mean, true, but like at that point, it's just like Black Mirror. It's like you
Oh,
might as well
Black
just make
Mirror
your
is
own
the new
anthology
Twilight
series.
Zone.
Well, yeah, but like it's just more of like I don't know.
I'm telling you what, when we hit the 80s, I can't wait to talk about Grandma, the Twilight Zone Grandma episode. Oh man, that's good stuff.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, it's one of the creepiest things basically kid mother goes out and he's taking care of his grandmother who's sick or dying or whatever, and you find out that it's maybe the devil. It's pretty good stuff.
Maybe, possibly.
Yeah, maybe the devil. We won't remember when we talk about it because it's still like
Played by
3 years
Julie
away, but
Newmar.
yeah,
She was 80.
right.
Mama
And-
Desmond.
but anyways, so underneath mute, right above Dead Man's Shoes. Does that sound good?
Works for me.
Works for me.
All right. So, I think this is such a weird title. I'm like writing it down, and it's like such a weird title for it because I don't know about you guys, but I like when they do or they just do execution but this is like a half a sentence is missing from it's like a weird paragraph issue. It's weird to me. Weird spelling and
Well, I
Oh,
think there's
right.
no comma.
yeah, that's
I think
true.
that's part of it.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it's
I
like
get where they're going with it. I mean, there's of late of recent right? But I think it's also like of late because they're old. So it's
Right.
like, I don't know. I don't know how you'd make the title better.
Run-on sentence. That's what it feels like. Anyways, so with that said, new number 86 is of late, I think, of Cliffordville. Number 1, still Eye of the Beholder. Number 116, The Trouble with Templeton. You guys have already done it, so be quiet. Not allowed to do it anymore. Next episode is season 4.
Number
episode
94. What's number 94, Jake?
Definitely not Perchance to Dream.
The house
In the house. Sorry.
Jacob's having a stroke. Actually, Jacob froze. He said he froze while having a stroke.
And no, the piano hit him. That's what happened.
Yeah, piano
piano in
the house.
The house?
In the house?
Oh man.
See, that's
anyways,
a good title.
The piano and hit him in the house.
In the house?
Of late, I think of Piano in the House.
Are we bringing the titles together again?
Yeah, of late, I think of Penis Stretcher. Anyways, next episode is season 4, episode 15, The Incredible World of Horace Ford, directed by Abner Biberman. I think is how it works. Written by Reginald Rose. It stars Commissioner Gordon from the Batman series, Pat Hingle, Nan Martin. Hey, another Nan, Jacob. Another Nan.
Oh.
Ruth White, Philip Pine, Vaughn Taylor. So look forward to that. Alex, thank you for coming on. I mean, we would have had you on anyways, but thank you for coming on for understudy work. You know, we're always glad to have you. It's always exciting, you know, to have you on to deal with our nonsense. But once again, Triv will be back next week. But Alex, I know you still have content on YouTube. I keep saying that, but you definitely have content. It's there. You said at some point you're going to go back to it, but where's that at?
You can find me at Alex Carson on YouTube. And that's about it for me. But you can also follow Trivial Theater at YouTube and on all the fun social media handles. I'm trying to do my arms on the side, kind of like Triv.
Yes.
You know, and then she kind of bobs her head, but you know.
Right. So sometimes she strong arms it, sometimes she becomes a giraffe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can follow her on YouTube. I don't know what content she has coming up, but I'm sure it'll be great. And
Is
then
it the boys from Movies Theater Hell or some shit? What's it called, Jacob?
The boys from County Hell.
The Boys from County Hell, which I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure it's fantastic. I'm sure
there's a piano in the
house.
This is from
County Hell.
I didn't know I guess.
Yeah, in County Hell, obviously, like every house has a piano in it. You know, that's just what it is. I've never heard of this movie, by the way, which is how that Triv is going to do a great job covering it.
Oh, I'm sure she will. Jacob, is this a movie you saw at Nightstream? Because it was at Nightstream Film Festival. I'd never heard of this film.
It's Irish, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because I was watching Nightstream Film Festival at the time.
No, I saw it because the director of the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre, after I reviewed his movie, he contacted me and sent me a bunch of merch and like talked to me. He's a pretty cool guy. Well, one of the directors and actors, and he recommended it.
Interesting. But yeah, she'll have that out eventually. If not, she has it out. I mean, I don't know. She'll at some point she will definitely have it out. But Jacob, you have content.
I do.
Finally, a video posted, doing pretty decently.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. It's on the Tube of Views. Check me out on Retro Jake XY on YouTube. I have a new video that just came out. It's about the story of the PS3. It's called Beyond Arrogance. It's because they were very arrogant this time. Still are, but whatever. But it's a comprehensive history of said console. Lots of ups and downs. It's a long video, but so strap in, have a good time. Put a lot of work into it. I have some other content coming that I've already shot. It's different kinds of videos, but those are coming for the in-between time. So I'll start releasing that stuff in about a week or two. And I'll release a video every couple of weeks. So I'm trying to this video seems to be doing well right now. It's starting to catch on. So I said that if the video did good, as long as it keeps doing good, I will release more regular content. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to do it.
Oh man, of my word. Is that
Man who has a word, and I am of that word. Me and that word made love, and we made
I'm trying.
other words.
Anyways, with that said, I have this episode. I have this video, this Twilight Zone video that I put up, the fifth dimension. I'm getting into
I've heard of it.
I know, all right. I will have some seasons of television I'm going to be doing. I think Dark Matter here soon. I'm not doing anything for the next week because,
He's
nothing in my
digging
fancy.
for oil in Cliffordville.
Yeah, I have to wait like 30 years for that. But there's nothing like of note where I'm going to see a movie. Maybe I'll review a movie. I don't know. Nothing exciting is coming out that I really want to review at the moment. So I'll do what I can when I want. I'll do what I want. Gosh. But that's all I have right now. I'm with Alex. I really don't have a lot of content at the moment that I'm putting out there. So, but anyways, that'll do it. That'll be our take on the of late. I think of Cliffordville. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. And for myself, Triv, and Jacob, and Alex, because Triv's not here. Remember, Triv will be back next week. We'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out, motherfucker.
I'm dying. Like I'm doing
Are you doing the
rain.
purple rain thing? Are you doing it for a pause?
Chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain.
Oh, chocolate.
Oh my! We're gonna have to. I think we need to start that over.
I drank all my water.